Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first Moody Talk on fear. So let's dive into fear. What is the emotion fear, and why do we feel it? So there are a lot of different factors on why we would feel fear, right? Maybe we're being threatened, or there's the idea that we're being threatened, or someone that we love is being threatened, and something bad can happen. There are other factors too, like you've seen other people be threatened or harmed in front of you. Uh, for people who have trauma, it's having flashbacks. You can get fear from having a flashback, or even if you're in complete silence, right? Some people can't be in complete silence or the dark or something like that, and they have phobias. And so fear becomes a very big emotion that is hard to handle, right? So, what we do with the first Moody Talks with Emotions every week, the first week, we talk about the words, descriptions, the words of what we use when we say, when we know fear, right? And they can go in intensity, right? You could have, a word such as scared be in a lower intensity than terrorized, being the highest intensity word that you would use for the emotion fear, right? So I think it's really important that we get our vocabulary down. What are the words that we use when we talk about fear in the moment when we're feeling it, right? So, what I do is I put together a list of words that are, descriptions of fear. So, we got jumpy, anxious, dread, horrified, tense, worried, uneasy, hysterical, fearful, shocked, frightened, and nervous. Okay, so these are all different words that we can use for being scared, for feeling fear, right? But these aren't all in the same intensity. So that's why I get out my intensity scale. Okay, so this is the intensity scale that I use to understand my own words that are the intensity of the words that I use, right? So uneasy and tense are low on the intensity scale, whereas we have anxious and worried in the middle, and then horrified and hysterical. Those are like my most intense fear words, right? So if I'm in a moment and the word pops up in my head that is the word that's describing the fear I'm feeling, I know how intense that feeling is for me. So I think that's very important. If I get scared and, it's more of a worry, I know that that's on a lower intensity scale and I'm not going to really need to pay as much attention to it as if the word horrified jumped into my head. That's intense. So I'm going to need to, in the moment, find my coping skills to help me better cope with fear. Okay. Also, for fear, I like to talk about the difference between in the moment fears and future fears. Okay. So in the moment fears is like a sudden unexpected sound, something might hit you, being alone, performing in front of people, or being in the dark. These are in the moment fears. They pop up in the moment that it's happening, right? Like if somebody touches you and you don't even realize they're there, you're going to jump. That's in the moment. Their fear is going to come at that point. The future fears are something like going to a place you don't like, doing poorly on a test. These are fears of maybe you will do poorly on a test, seeing someone who hurt you, going somewhere you don't know, worrying about getting sick. So there's a big difference between in the moment fears that we fear automatically, and we have to have coping skills for in the moment. The future fears are the ones that we're worrying about that are going to happen, or maybe they're not even going to happen. They're a fear that you have going into a situation. Now, those are a different set of coping skills, right? Those are ones that you need to work on before you head into the situation so that you have the coping skill ready when you get into the situation. So there's two very different kinds of fear there. And then finally, I wanted to talk about how does your body feel when you're feeling fear, when you're feeling fear. This is really important because each emotion has their own set of body sensations. Some of them may overlap, but for the most part, there are times when we want to describe how we're feeling when we're scared. These are some of the things that we're going to describe in our body, right? So, stomach aches, we start to feel a stomach ache, queasy feeling. Your heart is racing, out of breath. Your body gets really stiff, like you're waiting for something to just happen. You're waiting for the impact or something. Feeling cold and clammy. Clenching your teeth. Yeah, I do that a lot. There's a lump in your throat, like you can't say how you feel, or you want to scream and you can't. Wanting to run away. It's the fight or flight when you get scared, right? Fight or flight and is wanting to run away. And I guess if we were going to talk about fight or flight, we could also say, ready for battle mode. Your body is ready for battle. Okay? So I think these are also very important to understand. So in the next few weeks, we're going to go through coping skills of how we can handle fear. One of my absolute favorite coping skills for DBT, which is dialectical behavioral therapy, is checking the facts. I tend to jump from fear to another feeling, another emotion, because I don't feel safe with fear and I feel more in control with the other emotion. So that's coming up, and I really hope that you'll check that out next week. But I hope this helped. I think it's really important to sit down and figure out those words that you use for fear, for any emotion, and then figure out the intensity of each one, because it's really important for us to be ready to know what we're pulling out of our emotions toolbox. Do we need an in the moment? Do we need to just sit back, let the fear wash over and go, and then have a tool, have a coping skill to work after the fact, or even if it's before the fact, the future fear. So I hope this helped. If you have any questions or comments, please DM me or comments below, and we will see you again next week. Bye.